G'day community and welcome to the Jock Reynolds Supercoach podcast. I'm Lekdog and joined in person for just the second time in 4 years or 5 years. Patch.
Lekdog, it's good to see your wonderful face in person again, in the flesh. I can just reach out and just touch it. Which I have just done for the listeners at home. I've just touched his wonderful bonce.
We could get some live facial hair touching on the pod. Maybe we'll do that for later.
Get some ASMR podcast releasing. G'day community. We are, we're a week out from Supercoach, or 4 days rather out from Supercoach.
When you put it like that, it's quite frightening.
Four days is not a lot of days until we get the men's footy back and thus with it, Supercoach.
Unfortunately, the most important podcast of the year is also going to be the worst audio podcast for the year. So sorry to the listeners. Shout out to Telebeats for the music. Telebeats, contact us if you're still alive. And shout out to all the content that's on the website at the moment. Like, jump on. Team reveals are popping. There's bloody rookie stuff coming. Everything's happening. It's going to be a very busy 4 days.
Oh yes, it's going to be very busy, and we do want to give a shout out to the people making that content because they're wonderful.
Yes, please, if you're listening, jump on the Jock Reynolds Twitter. You'll see a thread there from me about all the people who are keeping the website alive and ways to donate to them if you wish, which I would encourage because they're all lovely people.
They're wonderful. But, Lekdog, but as wonderful as they are, I mean, they're wonderful. There's no but here. They're just incredible. But we're here to have a chat about Supercoach. We're going to run through who we like, basically, because we've both been very busy and haven't really had time to watch a lot of pre-season footy. So we're going to talk about the players we like and think could be good in the wake of injuries and pre-season games and training the house down and more midfield time and all of that wonderful stuff. So we'll just jump into it, I guess.
Yeah, we're going to name this pod something like Last Minute Supercoach Advice, but it's literally just we're going to talk about players we like and think are probably good picks. Like, to put it simply, we haven't really planned ahead.
No, shockingly. Who would have thought us not planning ahead? But defenders, we're going to do it line by line for the premos and then lump all of the mid-prices in together because you're not supposed to have too many mid-prices, but we'll see how that ends up down the line in terms of how many mid-prices we name, and then we'll deal with the rookies at the end. Start in the back line. Who do you like?
I like a lot of players in the back line. Like many people, I'm going reasonably heavy in back line. I've got two versions of my team. Both will have 4 premiums in defence, at least. And one has Jake Lloyd, one doesn't. The one without Jake Lloyd is he misses round 1 with this knee. They're pretty confident he'll play. The one that doesn't have him is if he misses. So it makes sense. Obviously, look, Lloyd, Laird, you can't go wrong with these guys if you're doing a cheat sheet to pick players. Rory Laird, he's going to play in the midfield this year. He's a gun. Caleb Daniel and Tom Stewart are both in my side. They're going to score 105 points every week for you. And then I guess the other guy, outside of those 4, which I think just about everyone's going to have in their team, Jaden Short's in my team still. He was there before the preseason games. I took him out after he scored 170 or whatever it was, and everyone jumped on. But no, he's back there. He's likely the one that gets upgraded to Jake Lloyd if he plays. But do you like Jaden Short?
I do. I kind of was, iffy on him last year, just not sure when Hooley would be back, what sort of was happening down at Tigerland with a few changes with players in and out of hubs. But this year, they've realised that, this will probably be Hooley's swan song. He's stepping into that role. He's very well suited to the new rules. He's taking kickouts. He's doing all the right stuff, and he's underpriced with the new play-on rules. He will score a lot more obviously won't be 170 each week, but I think he's good. He's currently in my side. He's been in and out, kind of behind Daniel Lloyd, Laird, and a few others, including the one I really like down back, who isn't underpriced, but Luke Ryan as a defensive option. Really like him. I mean, that's it. That's the tweet. Was phenomenal last year. Will be freed up a bit by not having to play fullback or on a key position player. So should have more time to run off, more time to spread, more time to get the ball in his hands. And he's just a pod. He's probably overpriced. I don't expect a lot of people will pick him because there'll be the chance to pick him up a bit cheaper later on. But I just think he'll score really well and just have a soft spot for him.
Yeah, no. Oh, look, 576k. He's in under 10% of teams. I don't mind him as a selection. He has not made his way into actually any of my teams, to be honest. But I respect him as a selection. And I think if you're looking for someone that's not in all these teams, everyone's jumped on Jaden Short. Maybe you don't buy into the hype. I think this guy's a fantastic option. Slightly expensive, but, still pumped out 107 points a game last year. Plus, the games where he wasn't playing key position, key defender, he scored about 130. So he's got huge upside.
Yeah, absolutely. Callum Mills, the other one worth mentioning, was playing midfield. Like Rory Laird, he's been spoken about as a midfielder for years and years and years. This will be the year he finally does it, and this looks like it's the year. 544k. It's not a bargain by any stretch, but I do like him as a selection, and I'm trying to figure out a way to make him slide into my side.
A couple other guys that I think are worth just mentioning. Jeremy Howe is quite underpriced for what he can deliver. My question mark over him is obviously returning from injury, but also we've never really actually seen him do it. He did it for a few weeks last year, then snapped his leg in half. So I've got question marks over whether he can actually perform as a premium.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt he's got the capability to score really big and go massive, but yeah, can he do it for a whole year? I don't know. We'll find out. And Damo put his team reveal up on the site. He's gone with him, which I really like. It's a brave call. Not sure I can do it myself. Luke McDonald is in a few teams as well. Looks set to continue on from last year. Yeah, it could be worth starting. I'm looking to pick him up in the middle of the year. Nick Haynes not getting a lot of love from the Giants. Probably a mid-season pickup when he goes a bit cheaper. And Jordan Ridley probably in the same boat.
Yeah, I think the one guy that has been in and out of my team as well is Sam Doherty at under 500k. I think he's going to be better than he was last year. Teams figured him out a bit last year, but I don't think they can. I mean, even if teams do lock him down, Carlton's going to be all right this year with Sard and Williams in the side, but I just don't think that's going to happen as much this year. But I'm not jumping on him to start because I just want to see how he grows next to Sard in the back line, Williamson, SBS. There's a few guys I just want to see how they gel before I jump on him. But I think he's going to end up in the discussion at the end of the year. Right. Is there any guys you don't like as defensive primo options?
Well, I didn't really like Zach Williams, but was going with him because everyone else was. Being suspended for round one kind of answers the question for me. Is there any merit to people who were really keen on him to actually starting him now?
No, I think it's a get out of jail free card, and I think we should all cash it in. I think we're going to be struggling with the bench cover as it is, so don't go in with someone who's not playing. Lockie Whitfield, if you've got him in your team, you're still in a lot of teams. He's still struggling to breathe, so don't pick him. Stephen May also questionable for round one, so if you're one of the pods with him, don't pick him. One guy criminally underselected is Brad Shepherd, but he's probably not going to be in that top 10 defender discussion. And if you're picking Shannon Hearn, do not pick Shannon Hearn.
Agreed. Shall we move on to the midfield?
Yes.
Somehow I feel like the defensive line has more relevance in the midfield this year. There's just more primos that I want to pick in the back line than there are primos.
Yeah, I don't think that it's more relevant or whatever. It's just that I know which ones of the defenders are going to be good, right? The midfielders, there's so many question marks. They've all had injuries. The most popular player in Supercoach just about, or he's very close to, is Matt Rowell. Let's talk about him.
He looked a bit underdone. Like, I saw some of the highlights. I watched the second half of that Brisbane Gold Coast game over the weekend. He just kind of looks a bit... he still scored the 110-ish, 105.
Had 7,000 contested possessions.
Yeah, like I don't know why I'm calling on him, but because I love him, incredible player, 500k, everyone's getting on board, so it's not really a massive risk, but there's something in my gut that's just saying hold off for a second here, just have a look and correct into him. But I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, I don't know. I don't have him in my team.
No,
I haven't had him in any of my teams. Every statistical thing, the beast calculator, everything says he's the greatest player of all time. His preseason form, even though he was running at 70%, looked really good. Like, he scored really well. I still don't want to pick him. I can't give you a reason. I don't trust a Gold Coast second-year player to score enough to be a keeper. And I don't think at 105, it'll be a very nice average for him. But I don't think even if he goes 105, that's good enough to start. I want to start guys who are going to go 110 plus.
Yeah, if he was 400k and was averaging 105, absolutely, sign me up. But at that annoying price, it's just kind of a little bit in the middle in the midfield, which, I mean, kind of a really bad pun. But it's just, I don't know. Something about it just screams it's going to be not underwhelming. Matt Rowell will be whelming this
He
season.
will be perfectly whelming.
Thoroughly whelmed by Matt Rowell this year. And from a football perspective, he'll sell memberships. He'll be great for them. From a Supercoach point of view, I just don't know.
I hope it pays off for 50% of the coaches out there who are all picking him. I really want him to be successful, and I'll be angry if it is. But he's not in my team. I'll note that I'm running a 4 Uber Primo midfield and then all rookies, pending rookie namings, of course.
Of course.
But so Matt Rowell doesn't feature in my team. He hasn't. And if I were to move to an M5 position, I'm looking at Paddy Cripps over Matt Rowell at 20k more or whatever it is. And I'll say this: I'm not confident about Paddy Cripps.
I was hoping you would be, because I'm kind of sitting there going, I've got Cripps in my side over Rowell. Reasonable, like 75%, 80% confident on Cripps. Wanted you to come here and convince me today that he's going to be incredible and a top 8 for him, and that's not the answer I wanted. Don't tell me you're not confident in him.
He was in my team until this week, and
No.
There's no logic for me pulling him out other than I was more confident in having an extra forward and an extra defender. And we can talk about it. You'll see it in my team reveal. I've got a 520k forward and a 520k defender in my team. If the rookies work out, they could very, very easily become Paddy Cripps again. But I'm happy to jump on him later. If he looks like he's the beast of old and he's going to average 118, I'm happy to jump on him. At
the cost of an extra 80k of
I'll pay it for him. But the guys I am paying for in the midfield so far, I'm pretty confident on all of them.
All right, well, let's go through. I mean, this is the podcast about the people we like, not necessarily the people we're whelmed by. Who do you like in the midfield?
I like Jack McRae. I always like Jack McRae.
He's a likable super coacher.
I think we probably overreacted to those games where he was on the wing last year and didn't score 700 points, because he still ended up... What did he end up averaging? He averaged over 110 last year, right?
He averaged a lot of points.
He averaged 121 last year, Patch. And he did have a couple of games that sucked, right? So if we look through his scores from last year... bear with me. We were disappointed because in round 4 and 5 he scored 92 and 90, and we were like, this sucks. This isn't what we wanted. Guess what? He's really, really good. He's really, really good. And I don't think Treloar coming in makes a difference to McRae. We saw him dominate. Well, they all dominated against Melbourne, but he's just a guy who I didn't have in my team, and then I watched him play again and I thought, I should put you in my team.
Yes, it was a very easy decision to make. I'm in the same boat about Clayton Oliver, in that he, had a few games where he kind of, a few games in a row it was 190, sort of just flat scores by his standards, but, he scored below 80 in his career 4 times, maybe 5 times in his 70-game career. Does not miss matches, touch wood. He's just the most solid option there in terms of just averaging 110, just consistent, low standard deviation. Has the ability to go really high, doesn't do it all that often, mind you, but just does not fall away, will be good for that 105 to 120 each and every week. Has not left my side, and I think he's about the only player to not leave my side all pre-season.
He's got a huge ceiling as well. He can score double tons.
He can score double tons.
Which he did last year.
Yeah.
You're not going to happen every week, but he can do it occasionally.
He can do it. Lockie Neal kind of speaks for himself in terms of whether or not you pick him. It's not the question over his ability or his scoring potential. It's the price. Do you have him? Do you like him? What do you think about Neal?
I have him. He's not someone I'm gambling against. If he sucks and only averages 105 or 110, the 50% of coaches out there that didn't pick him can tell me I told you so, but it's not a gamble I'm going to take. Bankable captaincy scores every week. And I'm just going to mention this not to freak you out. Clayton Oliver, I did just take out of my team.
Ooh,
if he plays round one, he's back in. He's in the Jake Lloyd situation.
Yep.
Just need to play.
Don't think there was any injury concern with him missing the preseason game for Melbourne. I think it was just them saying, well, you got a minor knock at training, there's no point running you out there because there's a preseason game. He's fit, he's ready to go, he's not injured. Like, he had a messed up preseason last year, still averaged 115, was it? A lot. Averaged a lot.
100 and a lot.
100 and a lot. We both like Zach Merritt in the midfield.
We both do like Zach Merritt in the midfield.
We do, for various different reasons.
I like him as a future Carlton player.
Well, it was lovely seeing you again in person. We'll wrap it up there. No, he is out of contract, which I hate saying the words, but he's also...
So is Cripps.
That doesn't... I know only one of those players is going to leave the clubs. And it's not Paddy Cripps. God, I hope we're not bad, because if we're bad, it means we lose Merritt. I'm getting distracted. Look what you've done. Merritt's good at football. I don't think too much more needs to be said.
No, we don't need to justify it, really, I don't think, but... from about round... I can't remember what the exact stat is. We'll have, if you do want to see this, check out Barron's spreadsheet breakdown of every player. It's on the website. You can get there from the Listen to All Podcasts post. But from about round 10 onwards last year, actually, I think it was even earlier, round 8, he averaged like 120. Yep. He's a jet, and he's in a contract year. I just think he's going to be huge. Happy to select him. Are there any other midfielders you like?
There's one midfielder I really like. Tried toying around with him last week, but just kind of haven't been able to put him in there. But really, really want to. Nat Fyfe is life. Fyfe.
Yeah.
Just a prolific Supercoach scorer, has been for a long time. I think the interchange cap will suit him, because instead of going to the bench, he'll go forward, and he can take contested marks like no other midfielder in the game, can kick goals, can still rack up points, can still have a 50, 60 point quarter from full forward, because they'll look for him. The only knock on him is that he just misses 2 or 3 games every year.
Yeah, and that's the reason I can't start him. I'll wait till he misses that game or plays the one game from full forward and scores, 70 instead of 100, and I'll pick him up after that. But yeah, he's in how many teams? He's in 22% of teams. He's not going to let his owners down until he misses that one game, but that happens. That happens. I prefer him over someone like Marcus Bontempelli, who's 20k more expensive. I don't dislike the Bont, but I like Nat Fyfe more.
I'm in the same boat. I don't dislike Bontempelli. I dislike Luke Beveridge.
Yes.
And the salad he creates in the midfield. Was it Damo that thought up the salad phrase?
The midfield salad.
Bevo's midfield salad.
Just tosses it all together. With a drizzling of half-back flank.
Drizzling of high half forward. Or pinch of high half forwards.
Do you think Jack Steele's good?
He's good.
Do you think he's Supercoach good?
Probably. I haven't really considered him at all, because he's very highly priced, and I don't know if there's much room for improvement in that St Kilda midfield. I'm just not convinced that he can take that to the next level, which means at some stage he'll drop a bit, and if he's still good, we'll pick him then.
I think that's fair. Do you like Josh Kelly?
I like Josh Kelly. I don't like all of the parts of Josh Kelly that keep getting strained and injured and broken and causing him to miss games.
He's capable of being the number one Supercoach midfielder.
Oh, absolutely. He's incredible as a just output from a fantasy perspective. Just in the same boat as Nat Fyfe, but more so in that he just misses too many games to really consider him.
Missed 3 games in a shortened season last year, averaged 115. Another guy similar boat, not similar boat in terms of missing, but in similar ownership, Andrew Gaff. Luke Shuey's out to start the season. Is that good for Andrew Gaff? Is he someone that we should be paying more attention to? I think if he was a Victorian player, he'd be in, 30% of teams.
I mean, the thing that I keep coming back to with these guys like Gaff, Luke Parker, you look down that list, the Mitch Duncans, etc. Are they going to finish in the top 8, top 10 for the year?
It's a good question.
They'd probably finish top 15, but look, I just don't want to take the gamble on Andrew Gaff at that price at 570k. It's just not providing a huge amount of value. He might improve his output a little bit more, but I'd rather spend the extra, 40, 50k and get to a Merritt, a Bont, a Petrarca.
What about Tom Mitchell? He's capable of being one of those top 8 guys.
He is. If his shoulder's ready to go by round 1, which apparently it is, I'll probably have a think about him, but without having seen him, it's a bit hard to go and start with him. Could be an incredible pod move.
Not in a heap of teams.
No, if you're willing to take that risk, then absolutely.
11th highest scorer last year for total points.
Yeah, I think he's a very good option. I don't know if I'm game to start him ahead of, your Merritts, your McRaes, your Olivers, your Neils. Once you got those 3, it's hard to shove another 600k midfielder in when you then have a backline chock full of options.
I currently have a different M4. I have Travis Boak in my side.
Travis Boak.
Which, 590k, he was the 14th highest scorer last year, averaged 110 for the season, had a very good year the year before. If you want to see all the reasons I like him, he's actually in Damo's team as well. And I have seen some interesting comments regarding Boak last year. I think they're uneducated comments probably, but that's okay. I think he's a very solid pod. I think he's in 1% of team. And I will put this out there. He's only in my team because he's a pod. I had Oliver there, and I said, I want someone who's in less than 2% of teams. It's not my team if I don't have a pod. So Boak's in.
I mean, yeah, I would be picking pods in different spots, but you do you, baby. You do you. And it'll come back to bite you.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Maybe. It will. It definitely will. Anyone else in the midfield you like?
No, I think we've covered all the ones I like. If we didn't cover your player, we hate them.
That's fair. Sam Walsh is very popular. I know we spoke about him in the Carlton pod, for those that missed it.
I've gone off him a little, just because I want to see... Well, it's going to be hard. Round 1's not even going to give us much info because William's not going to be playing. Look, I think he's capable of being the highest scoring Carlton midfielder this year, but I'd rather gamble on Paddy Cripps, who's cheaper. He had an awesome run home, averaged 115 over his last 6 games or something. It did Walsh last year, which is crazy good. Another guy I'm happy to chase later on, I think. And I also feel like maybe, if I picked him, it's just my heart,
Yeah, you don't know how much of that is based on the facts and the numbers, and I've looked at the facts and the numbers, and I'm not confident enough to go with him, and I'm happy to correct into him. And I think that was the really big lesson from last year, was that we can correct into these guys, and it's not the end of the world if you miss the first 2 games where Walsh scores 250s and is obviously, the man in charge in Carlton, or something like that, or a player like that. We can kind of jump on board those Ridleys, etc. Like say Oleg Markov sets the world on fire for Gold Coast. We can jump on those players.
Yeah, worth noting, we spoke to General last year, who finished 4th overall, I believe, in the end.
Yep, General Saunders,
and one of his piece of advice was, you don't need to start the pods. You can pick them up later. The popular players are popular for a reason, and it's how you trade around that is really how you get through to the end. So, having said that, I do have a pod just for the sake of having a pod. So
that's why you didn't finish 4th last year. Just quickly before we move on from the midfield, a lot of people very keen on Tim Taranto this year. Are you keen on Tim Taranto? Do you like Tim Taranto?
I like Tim Taranto more than any of the other GWS mids. More than Kelly, more than Green. I don't have him. But I understand it. If you need someone in that probably M5, if you're going a 400k player, he's a pretty good fit. He is another beast calculator that like another player that the beast calculator likes, and a guy that void of significance should be able to pick up some of the points that are gone missing from that GWS side. So it just depends where the coach is. We hate Bevo.
Leon Cameron's not much better.
No, he's basically Bevo 2.0.
He is Bevo 2.0. Eye Salad 2.0. Did that Eye Snack 2.0 reference come across?
I think that's going to translate really well.
I'm sure everyone will remember the fabled Vegemite Eye Snack 2.0.
Ruckman, do we need to?
No,
I like Riley O'Brien.
I like Riley O'Brien. Riley O'Brien's good. He's not Max Gawn. He's not Brodie Grundy.
If he was more than 60 grand or 70 grand, whatever the difference is, or it's closer to 80. If he was more than that away from Brodie Grundy, if he was 100 grand cheaper than Brodie Grundy, I'd have way more interest, because I think he can challenge Brodie Grundy for a spot in that pantheon of ruckman, and I think their difference will be minimal. However, to pick him and only get save 70 grand, is that 70 grand really helping me? And also, is it worth taking on the 53% of coaches who have picked Brodie Grundy?
No, especially not considering Grundy's history and like Grundy's potential as a captaincy option as well. O'Brien hasn't quite developed that, in my view, that you can't really rely on him to chuck the VC on him or chuck the C on him and know that you're going to get a 125 plus, whereas Grundy
pretty much do.
Yeah, he's had that for the last 2 seasons. I like Goldstein. I like Rowan Marshall. Well, I would if he wasn't injured.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's too much more that needs to be said about the ruck line.
One note about Gawn and Brodie Grundy, during the bye round, they play each other. So you'll want another captaincy option, I imagine, in that round.
But while we're in the ruck line, it's becoming more and more in vogue, and I'd like it less and less the more I see it. Rookie R2, Lekdog. It needs to be addressed. We need to talk about it. Do you like it?
As someone who once ran with Nanky Lands, as someone who last year advocated for who was I? Sam Naismith? Was I team Naismith?
Yes, you were team Naismith.
And I pulled out at the last minute and left all our followers stranded.
Like the coward you are.
It worked out, sort of. Look, I understand it. I love the balls on everyone who does it. Metaphorical balls. Not necessarily everyone has them. But I'm not doing it. No freaking way. No way. I'd rather just have a guaranteed 110 points at R2. Like, no. What do you get from it? Who are you picking that's better than Brodie Grundy instead of having Brodie Grundy?
Good question. Very good question. You could mount the argument that bringing in a Nat Fife or a Tom Mitchell saves the same amount of points, or generates the same amount of points, but like Brodie Grundy was the 3rd best overall scorer last year.
Something like
4th,
that. They're always the ruckmen are always in the top 3. Like, it's
if there was say a Sam Draper at 123k and we knew he'd have a run at it all season, maybe I'd look at it. But you look at Flynn, who's under an injury cloud. Sorry, not Flynn. The other one from GWS.
There's Flynn and Briggs.
Oh, Flynn and Briggs. Sorry, Briggs is the one that stood up on the weekend and played well. And Leon Cameron, Bevo 2.0, turned around and said, oh, yeah, he played well. Maybe we'll play him. Maybe we'll play them both. Maybe we'll interchange them. And that doesn't fill me with confidence for Flynn to have him on field. Lloyd Meek has Sean Darcy coming back relatively soon.
They might play tandem.
Josh Treacy plays forward, key forward at Fremantle. That's not going to net you a whole amount of points. Tom Fullerton also won't score a huge amount of points. There's one other ruckman, rookie ruck, that I've already forgotten because there are too many of them and I'm not used to having more than one to consider at a time. Paul Hunter, when Ryder's back, does he even play? Does he still making the side? Rowan Marshall's a couple of weeks away. You can't rely on any of them to last you for the amount of time it's going to save enough money to put down a mortgage on bringing Brody Grundy in.
And the other thing is, so there's a circumstance where I do pick a rookie at R2, and that circumstance is every other line at round 1 has no bloody rookies named, That's the only circumstance I see myself doing it, and I would just rather, I know I'm going to get Brody Grundy and Max Gawn in my team, I'm just going to start with them. I traded Max Gawn into my team twice last year, and I started him. Let that sink in.
2020 truly was the darkest timeline.
Let's talk about forwards, because there are some interesting discussions to be had. Basically, the same discussion we just had, and especially if you look at Damo's team, which I really like, but it's very interesting. Are we not running a premium in the forward line?
Well, I think this is now the stage where we talk not only premiums but also mid-prices and rookies in the forward line, because you can't really split them anymore. And I think a lot of it does come down to which premiums you like, and a lot of people are going through and going, no. I don't mind Connor Rosie. He's the first one I've picked. Oh, no. And it's just, it's always dire. The last couple of years has been dark times in the forward line.
Makes it fun, though.
Fun is one word for it. That is one word you could use to describe the forward line. But,
well, who do we like? Patrick Dangerfield, I like. I know that he's, had his groin cut open and operated and stretched and touched in the preseason. I'm not gambling against him.
No, not after watching him score a billion points in the practice match, or in the first practice match, and then doing not a lot against Essendon. From what I saw in the first half, watching him and still getting to halftime and having 55 points to his name.
There's some players that I believe Champion Data is very, they're not biased in their decision making and points awarding, and it's all done on numbers and science and computers. But Patrick Dangerfield gets a lot of points.
He does get a lot of points, and sometimes you look at them and go, how did he get those points? I'm not quite sure.
So even if I don't like him, I'm not gambling against Patrick Dangerfield.
Agreed. He's just too good. He's too good. And in the same situation as Fife, won't go to the bench, will go to the forward line. Yeah. And we've seen him kick 5 goals, 6, and score 130 from full forward on one leg. If he's just resting down there on a tired defender, on a tired midfielder that's gone back with him, he'll do damage. He'll average 115, 120. He'll drop in price, sure. But who else are you going to pick? Are you going to pick Steel Sidebottom? Do you like Steel Sidebottom, Lekdog?
My very first team, when Team Pika opened 6 months ago, I liked Steel Sidebottom, but I don't like Steel Sidebottom anymore.
He's injured, and we're not sure what his role's going to be, and it's just a bit... Tom Hawkins. Do you like Tom Hawkins?
I do for draft. I'm not going bold enough to start him. He'll be up there for total points as a forward, but I will not start him.
Yep. Chris Scott has come out and said, we'll rotate players, and Tom Hawkins is in the age bracket and the positional bracket that is going to be rotated. Do you want to do more Bevo Salah, Josh Dunkley? Do you like Josh Dunkley?
I do like. I didn't like Josh Dunkley, and then he scored 1 million points. And yes, it was against Melbourne, but the role was there. He was in the guts. Bevo changed his mind. He used to hate him, and then a week later when he played well, and now they're best friends. I'm not gambling against having Josh Dunkley at 560k in my forward line.
I saw the score and I'm like, he's placating him. Maybe he'll do that 1 week and then next week he'll play forward, or next week he'll play ruck or play back pocket in the VFL, or God knows what he'll do. But the thing that made me sit up and go, actually, no, I know, the points will keep coming. Now, it won't be 170 every week, but Josh Dunkley had 11 tackles in a practice game.
He tackles.
Having played practice games before, not a lot of tackling happens in them because players cannot be bothered. Like, it's pre-season, no one wants to do a shoulder tackling a bloke. To have 11 tackles in a practice game is impressive. Even before you start considering the fact that he had 20 contested possessions, 32 touches, took some marks, had some shots on goal.
Yeah, he's one that I think, 560k. I was in the group that was like, no, I'm not picking him. I don't trust Bevo. I don't know what he's gonna do, but I think he's just gonna be good.
He could play high half forward and still be a top 3 forward for the year, which says more about the rest of the forward line than it does Josh Dunkley. Rowan Marshall injured. No one should really be starting him.
No.
Dustin Martin.
I like Dustin Martin. He's a safe selection. He will score 100 points for you on average every week. He's not in my current team.
No, he will finish the year as the 4th to 6th ranked forward. About as safe as you can go in the forward line.
He'll dominate round 1. People will jump on. He'll kill us.
He will. And then next week he'll score 60.
Yeah. I'm just happy to wait. Wait till he drops to 500k, then I'll pick him up. I know it's only a 40k difference. It's more a principle thing. Remember when I used to not pick forwards that cost more than 500k?
Wasn't that defenders?
It was everything, baby. What a time we lived.
What a time to be alive. And then you get to Dane Zorko is the other one in that bracket at 525k. You quite like Dane Zorko.
He's in my team. He is. I do. I think, he played a lot of forward last year, still averaged, what did he average? About 100?
About that.
You've got
maybe just over. I have the prices for this year. The Supercoach website is not telling me...
He averaged 98 last year in the 15 games that he played. He's getting older. There's some injury concerns, but at 520k, Cam Rayner going down, doing that knee, I think opens up Dane Zorko's midfield time again. I just like him. He's in less than 10% of teams.
Is that the reason you like him?
Probably the reason.
The reason.
The smarter pick would be spending the extra 15 grand on Dustin Martin, honestly. But I like Dane. I just like Dane Zorko. He trended up towards the end of last year as well. I just think he's solid.
I mean, I like watching Dane Zorko from a Supercoach perspective. I've been on the train before. My lord, is it frustrating. And I'll just, the first 5 rounds of last year, Dane Zorko had 52, 107, 0, 47, 0, and then did 119, 116, 106. That's a bit of a roller coaster. And
I'm hoping for no zeros.
Even without the zeros, he had 4 scores of 68 or below.
Look, I just think at the end of the year, I'm putting myself in my future self's shoes.
Shoes, seat.
Yeah, both.
Throne.
I look at the total points for forwards. It's Dustin Martin, it's Tom Hawkins, it's Patrick Dangerfield, it's Dunkley, it's Zorko, and it's 2 miscellaneous blobs. But I know Zorko's there, and at the end of the year, that's what matters, is the total points. If I'm playing for a rank, that's what matters.
Right, on the flip side, that's four premos you want to go with. I've got 3 that I'd be happy to select down there. But the makeup of teams this year, a lot of forward rookies around.
There's a few, and a few close to rookie price players as well.
Does that change the setup in terms of we don't have a huge number of rookies locked in to play on field? We've got a few in the midfield. We've got next to none down back. We've spoken about the R2 rookie strategy. Is that where as Damo's done in his team reveal, as my team's been leaning for most of the preseason, should we be playing a lot more rookies there and then banking on Dustin Martin dropping in price, Dane Zorko missing a game and then scoring 50 the next week, and then Josh Dunkley being a victim of Bevo salad one week where he gets played in the back pocket for no apparent reason and then doesn't happen again for the rest of the year? Do you bank on the price drops from those guys and then just start the rookies down there? Because we'll go through the rookies down there.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Because there are a lot. If I do a lot of scrolling down, because there are a lot of forwards and most of them are bad.
Look, I've gone guns and rookies this year again. because it'll work this time, right? I don't have a single mid-pricer in my team. I don't have a single player in that 200k mark. I've gone guns and rookies. Braden Campbell is my most expensive rookie priced player. I don't even have Jarman Impey anymore.
I mean, we did see that game. He didn't quite have the 80-point roll that we were hoping to see from him. But in terms of those players around that price point and below, Jarman Impey is there. Riley Tilthorpe, Paddy Dow, Logan McDonald, Sam Flanders at 190k, Braden Campbell at 190k, Liam Henry might play and might score some points. Nick Cox, 175k, Michael Fredericks had a very good preseason game.
A year in the system too.
Archie Perkins.
Have you missed Zeeble and Danaher?
They're kind of mid-prices.
Yeah, that's awkward, isn't it?
Yeah, Zeeble and Danaher are...
They're close enough, I'd say.
They're in that conversation that you could pick them at F2 and F3 and maybe feel comfortable. Maybe you could sleep at night. But you got like Ned Carl, Cade Chandler, and then we get all the way down Chad Warner, Tom Fullerton, Eli Smith, James Rowe. Like, there are just...
Alec Waterman, if you go all the way down to 102k.
Tyler Brockman from Hawthorn, maybe one of the Melbourne boys in Bailey Laurie or Jake Bowie gets named. You've got Josh Treacy down there as well. There are a lot of them. Do you like enough of... Because I like enough of them that I could justify starting 4 of them on field.
Yeah, you're swinging me a little.
And just I feel like we've spoken about how many defensive options we like, and then the desire to fit in another, mid-primo in the Nat Fyfe or Tom Mitchell mould. I think the structure this year is leaning... This is my from the forward line. The structure is that it's giving us license to pick one premium, say we'll figure out the rest later, and then just rolling the dice a bit.
Yeah, look, the more you're speaking, the more I'm looking my team wanting to change it, to be frank with you. I think the guns and rookies... So I'm having flashbacks to last year, 2020, where I could not generate a single dollar with the rookies that I had stuck on my bench. I didn't take advantage of the 5 trades when we came back from the bye, from the 4 imposed break. I didn't have any cash generation, and I ended up trading in Charlie Cameron in round 17. That scares the shit out of me. You talking about how much... This game's about points, which I've got a lot of on my field, but it's about cash generation as well. And that's... You get points from cash generating players to make points. It's like the Simpsons, right? I wish I had nuts. Well, money can be used to exchange for goods and services and buy many nuts.
Exactly.
Maybe I need to generate more money, and maybe there's validity in running 1 primo in the forward line, or 2 primos in the forward line, or, as we've seen, no primos in the forward line.
To do that, do you need, say, a Dangerfield or a Martin who are locks to be top 2, and then do you need a solid F2? Do you need someone, Zach Butters, if you're confident Zach Butters can make the leap into a top 10, top 8 primo, or... Say Connor Rosie wasn't injured. Tom Phillips. Do you need someone you have confidence in at F2? Can you go Patrick Dangerfield, Jack Zeeble, or Patrick Dangerfield, Braden Campbell, God forbid?
I would like a step ladder. I would like a Dangerfield, someone less than 600k, someone down in that mid-300s, 270 range, Zeeble. Rookie. I'd like some sort of step ladder personally if I was going to add in another rookie onto my field for cash generation. The other consideration is runnings. If you think the forward rookies / cheapies are going to be better options than the midfield or the defensive rookies and cheapies, push Dangerfield into your midfield, run 6 deep in the midfield, 600k players if you want, and have no primos on the forward line. I actually don't have an issue with that if you're making up those primos. I don't want you to lose primos in your overall team. Like, I want you to have, whatever it is, 12, 13 keepers to start. I don't care where they are on the field. Yeah. If you've still got, 7 guns in the midfield and none in the forward line, I actually don't mind that because you can bring them in later. Scares the shit out of me, though. I'd like to have Dangerfield in my team. I'd like to have Josh Dunkley in my team.
Yeah, it's. I think it's a conversation worth having, especially when you get Campbell, Warner, Rowe. Waterman will play. Harry Jones will play. Won't score incredibly well. There are enough rookies that are going to play and get a decent run at it. Maybe Tyler Brockman's one of them as well. Josh Treacy and Fullerton. If you want to put one of them in the ruck line as well, and then switch them, depending on who's playing. I think there's enough flexibility that it's something you should consider in and of yourself. You should go outside, find somewhere nice and quiet, under a tree.
Listen to the Jock meditation tape.
Listen to the Jock meditation podcast, and just find what feels right for you. If you can't go without having Dangerfield and Dunkley and then a Jai Caldwell at F3, don't. But I think this year it's really valid. Like, I've done rookies at F3 for several years now with varying levels
ahead of the curve.
Varying levels of success. But I think this is the year it becomes mainstream, and I'm going to endorse it.
You play the rookies where they lie.
Exactly. And this year they all lie in the forward line. You play the rookies where they lie, except when it's in the ruck line. Because no. But they're all up forward. I think this is the year to do it, and then you can shove it down back, because you look down back, you've got Tom Highmore, 117k, will play. I think
maybe
85%, 80% sure that he'll play. Jason Kaczynski will play.
He ain't kicking 6 goals every week.
No, you don't want him on your field, but he'll play. Lockie Jones?
Doesn't feel like he's going to play.
No, we only played a half in the practice match. Will Gould hasn't been signed.
no, doesn't exist.
Does he exist? We don't know. I don't think he'll be there.
Another discussion, because there's a lot of these 200k players in defence as well.
So I've got one of them at the minute, being Jordan Butts from Adelaide.
Jordan Butts?
$176,000. Looks like he'll play. I've had a decent discussion with Baron Von Crow about him. He seems pretty bullish on him. All of his draft notes from a few years ago were that he's an intercept defender who can play as that third tall. Generally a reasonably Supercoach friendly role. Would I have him on field every week? Probably not. I think he's someone worth playing ahead of, say, a Lockie Young at 200k, who's perhaps less likely to average that 70 that I think Butts might, or that 65 that Butts might, whereas I think...
What about like a Jordan Clark or an Orazio Fantasia?
I have Jordan Clark in my side and I don't like it. I don't like it.
Part of me wants to throw out my 13 keeper build, which is the build I've tried every year for 10 years, and just pick every single one of these 200k players and see what happens.
I cannot express to you how much I do not want that, and it would keep me up at night every night.
Hayden Young?
I like Hayden Young more than Clark, and I don't know why. Clark did all the scoring against Essendon. Clark is in that stage where you're like, is he best 22?
He probably should be.
He should be best 22. Do you, he's only a bad, one or two bad games away from not being best 22. Whereas if it's a Dane Zorko, 2 bad games, still going to play that third week. Yep. Jordan Clark in a premiership, in a side aiming for a premiership, full of experience, full of players that know what they're doing. Jordan Clark's a risk. Hayden Young less so, because Fremantle a young side. Young is trying, they're trying to develop him into, the best kick in the comp, the best kick out player in the comp. But I just don't like the mid-prices in the backline. Like, is Oleg Markov going to score enough to justify picking him? I don't think so. I'd rather just start 5 defensive premos than start 3 and 2 mid-prices, or 4 and a mid-pricer, or 4 and 2 rookies. I just want to go really deep in the backline.
I think we've kind of touched on it. Worth noting that with the teams only being named 24 hours out before each game, apparently round 1, I read that they're pushing to have all teams named on the Thursday. Hopefully that happens. I doubt it.
Please, God, let that happen.
But outside of that, the 24-hour notice thing. Maybe I shouldn't be looking at my team build, and coaches out there shouldn't be looking at their team build going, I want X amount of keepers. Maybe they should be looking at, I want X amount of best 22 players with upside. So that speaks to picking a Joe Danaher, a Jack Zeeble. They've got injury question marks next to them, but job security really high. And I'll shout out to Supercoach George. He's put up a video on his YouTube channel. If I remember to, I'll link in the description, where he has gone through every rookie priced option and mid-pricer in this video and assigned essentially, upside, price, scoring potential, and then job security. And I think job security is a really important one, because if we pick Jordan Clark, as you just touched on, and 24 hours out from Geelong game, or 1 hour out because they do late changes every single game, and he's out, you're shit out of luck. If it's a rookie, it's like, at least you can digest that. You can swallow it. I know that the premiums I'm picking aren't getting dropped on form.
No, and the mid-prices, Fantasia probably won't get dropped on form, but again, Port's a really good side. There's competition for spots, whether or not he's half forward or half back.
Which speaks to these 300k guys again, or 200 to 300k guys. Danaher, best 22. Impey, best 22. Clark, questionable best 22.
Like Oleg Markov is 90% sure he's best 22 up there.
Jai Caldwell, best 22.
Yeah.
These sort of guys, maybe we're kind of going in circles here for the listeners, but what's the most important thing? We know that there's shitful rookies in defense and there's good rookies in the forward line. Should we be focusing on just, will this guy play?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's how I've been going about most of my side, and how, that's dictating where a lot of these players are going. In the, I look at the midfield and think Tom Powell will play, Connor Downey will play, Errol Goulden will play, Tanner Bruin will play. There'll be 2 other midfield rookies that crop up, whether that's Sam Berry, Alex Davies, that they'll pop up.
There's a couple of those 100k guys. That Scott bloke from Western Bulldogs,
yeah,
he
Lachie
might get
McNeil
into that
as
team.
well. They'll I'm confident enough that they'll pop up. There are plenty of forwards, and I'm kind of looking at that going, well, if they're going to play, I'll pick them and then go around it for the rest. Very quickly, we're running out of time, but are there any mid-prices, forward or mid? I know we haven't spoken about the mid-prices. Are there any of them that jump out at you?
The bloke that... So my F3, the Dane Zorko position, has been constantly changing between him and Jai Caldwell for that extra 200k to make the upgrades back to Lloyd and Oliver. So if they're named and they're healthy, Zorko probably disappears and I bring in Caldwell. He's the top of the chain for me in terms of mid-pricer, just because, the role's there for him. Essendon kind of suck. And he's forward eligible.
I'm not mad. It's true. It is very true. We suck.
He's probably the main mid-pricer for me. Do we talk about guys like Liam Duggan and Hunter Clark and stuff? Are they mid-pricers?
I don't know anymore. 2020 has kind of ruined any notion of what things are. But 2020 taught us that you need players that are playing in order to not have donuts, and this year won't be as chaotic. But I think it did also blur that line. Hunter Clark, Liam Duggan, yeah, I think they're maybe mid-prices. I'm not. No,
James Harms.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't love anyone in that price bracket, because I don't think any of them are sitting at that level that, say, Sam Doherty did a few years ago, where you look at them and go, you're a red hot chance of being a top 8 player. Hunter Clark, maybe it wouldn't surprise me come season's end if he was a top 8 player. I'm not going to take that gamble when there are that many other players around.
I know our mate Craig, shout out to Craig, is picking him.
Shout out Craig.
So Jai Caldwell's at the top. Dyson Heppel.
No.
Fantasy Freako's locking him in.
No.
Fantasy Freako makes the game.
No. Fantasy Freako could give Dyson Heppel 300 points each week, and I still wouldn't. I would pick him. But, I don't...
What about your boy Tom Green?
I really like Tom Green. I can't fit him in.
Is that you can't fit him in, or is it the eye salad 2.0?
Eye salad 2.0 is one of the dumbest things I've ever said. Look, it's both. It's like, if I wanted to like I could find a way to fit him in. Like, he doesn't fit in nicely. There's not a Tom Green shaped hole in my side. I could rearrange it to make a Tom Green shaped hole fit in my side. I don't trust Leon Cameron enough. Like, if I knew that, say, something tragic in that, Jacob Hopper went down with a knee for the year and that spot was there, I would be all over Tom Green like a rash, like an Ice Snack 2.0 over a wafer. I'd be all over it. But I just nah.
Okay, my one final mid-pricer for you. We've talked about necessity for security, best 22 player, shit team, forward eligible, Jaden Stevenson.
No.
91 points in the preseason game.
No.
27 disposals.
Yeah, I mean, once again, we're going to loop back in a circle. If he's good, I'll get him later.
We are allowed to do that, aren't we?
We are allowed to do that.
We're allowed to go from a Dane Zorko down to a Jai Caldwell at round 3 if we want, even though my one of the commandments is you will not trade a primo after 2 weeks. Maybe this is a year where we can break that.
I feel like that rule might just be broken forever after 2020. I feel like, if you're jumping on a Jordan Ridley, like, that 200k could go a long, long way. And I think you might be better off, maybe approaching it that way, because it's easier to generate that cash easier to say, right, this primo isn't quite doing what I want them to do. Let's jump them down to a mid-pricer than it is to pick a Jaden Stevenson and then get 3 rounds in and realise, oh, he's not a good Supercoach option and he's playing in the forward pocket. Why did I do this? This is the worst. And then you don't have to deconstruct your team to try and get rid of him.
It's much easier to go down from an expensive player to a cheap player than it is to go from a cheap player to an expensive player.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Any final thoughts? I know there will be a questions podcast coming out next week. If you're still with us and still listening, get your mailbag questions in. Shoot an email across to jockreynolds8@gmail.com.
No, we've changed it.
We've changed it. Scratch that.
Hang on. Give me 5 seconds. We can just pause the podcast. We're in control here. Demo. All right. So there's going to be 2 podcasts a week this year. Maybe more. Who knows? There's actually going to be some slight changes. The traditional podcast, this one you're listening to, will have a rotating host with myself because Patch is a grown-up boy with adult things in his life, and I'm a sad man who has to do a podcast every week. But the second podcast, which we're super excited, I don't think we've officially announced it, or we have on Twitter, but this is an official announcement. Damo and Clarkey, and maybe others, but Damo and Clarkey will be doing a weekly mailbag podcast. If you want to send in your questions, send them to jockmailbag, jockmailbag @gmail.com. Your questions will be answered. I think that podcast is going to get recorded on a Wednesday for release on a Thursday prior to teams. So get your questions in, jockmailbag@gmail.com. That's going to come out every bloody week. And I guess while we're pumping things up, the cheat sheet's going to be back.
Cheat sheet.
Statty Matty's doing that, the biggest thing we do each and every week. Foz Daddy is taking over the... what's it called?
The Panic Room.
The Panic Room.
Panic Room. Kev is also stepping back a bit this year. We'll still be around here and there on the old internets, but yeah, having a bit of a break on that front. So Foz has been handed the keys to the much beloved Panic Room. I have full faith in his Simpsons meme abilities.
I think Az's jumping on Hindsight, which is the Sunday afternoon article.
Yep.
And I believe Baron Von Crow is back with all the state league stats, and that's going to be awesome for the new VFL. We'll have all the players in contention for spots, and the up-and-coming rookies will be able to watch and see their scores in one place. So heaps of stuff's happening.
Heaps of stuff is happening. We'll still be with you through the year. Good luck in the 4 days between now and the lockout.
Good luck, community. Hit us up, jockmailbag@gmail.com or on Twitter. And make sure you head to the Jock Reynolds page, find the thread I posted about how we keep the website running. And if you do want to donate $1 or $2 and buy the lads, not me, but everyone else who works on the website, a couple of beers, you are very welcome to. Patch.
Lekdog.
We end as we started. together in person recording very poor audio off a Blue Yeti microphone.
And off a weird coffee table.
Wow, it's come full circle.
It has come full circle. But we will see you around the community. Best of luck.
Go Blues.